notice how some artists, they just put out music all the time, like it's a constant stream. But then there are others who, even with what feels like a smaller body of work, just leave this huge, huge impact.
Yeah, totally. Like, their presence is just massive.
It really is. And Lauryn Hill is a perfect example of that. I mean, her influence is just undeniable, and it's so interesting to consider why that is. And for you, someone who likes to get to the core of things, we're taking this deep dive into her journey, her music, her legacy, really understanding why her work continues to resonate so strongly, decades later.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that Lauryn Hill isn't just a name, right? It's like it represents a whole shift in music, a whole moment.
Yeah.
And we're going to trace that journey. We're going to go back to the very beginning and follow it all the way through to see how it unfolded.
That's right. And we've actually got some pretty amazing material to dig into. We're going to cover her start, her impact on music and film, and yeah, that lasting legacy.
Yeah. And, the mission here is to go beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might know some of her big hits,
Right.
but we're going to pull out the surprising turns in her career, the stuff that really shaped those groundbreaking artistic choices.
Exactly. So let's unpack this whole thing. And to do that, we got to go back to the beginning, right? East Orange, New Jersey, May 26, 1975. That's where it all started.
It is. And you know what's fascinating to me? When you look at her early life, it's like the perfect environment to nurture that kind of talent. She came from a really musical family, like immersed in incredible sounds from the get-go.
I mean, can you imagine?
Think about it, right? We're talking Aretha Franklin, the raw power of her voice.
Oh, yeah.
Marvin Gaye, that smooth sophistication, and then Bob Marley, that revolutionary spirit. Like, these weren't just casual listens. This was like the foundation of her sound.
It's incredible, right? Like, those are heavy hitters.
It's in her DNA almost.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about absorbing it, right? She was already displaying her own talents super early on. Even in school, she was this amazing singer and rapper, like really captivating people at talent shows.
Yeah, she was a standout. That's where that star quality starts to shine.
You can almost picture it, little Lauren stepping onto that stage and just, boom, commanding that attention.
And you know what? That early recognition, sometimes that's the catalyst. It's what solidifies that passion, that drive.
For sure. So before music fully took over, there's this interesting little chapter in her life. Acting.
Oh, right.
I've forgotten about that. At 16, 1991, she gets a role in the soap opera As the World Turns, playing Kira Johnson.
Wow. As the world turns, that's a long way from sold-out concerts.
It is, right? Talk about a different world.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting how these different creative experiences, they can actually end up shaping an artist. Learning about performance, working in front of a camera, even storytelling. Those are all skills that can translate.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it all adds layers to who they are as a performer.
Exactly. And then 3 years later, there's this movie that I think a lot of people remember her from, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Oh, yeah. With Whoopi Goldberg. I love that movie.
It's a classic. And for many, this was their first real introduction to Lauryn Hill, beyond those school performances. She played Rita Watson, this gifted but kind of hesitant choir student.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Because it wasn't just acting, it was a chance for her to showcase her incredible singing to a way bigger audience.
Right?
Remember His Eyes on the Sparrow?
Oh, that song. So powerful.
The emotion in her voice.
Yeah.
And then the energy in joyful, you'd already hear the depth.
Yeah.
This wasn't just an actor singing. This was a genuine vocal talent announcing itself.
Totally. Like, she was laying the groundwork for what was to come. Okay, so from acting, she moves into music, forms this group that would totally reshape the sound of the mid-90s, the Fugees.
Okay, yeah, the Fugees. Huge moment.
This is 1992. She joins forces with Pra Michelle and Wyclef Jean.
And what struck me about the Fugees was their sound. It was so different. They weren't just another hip-hop group, right?
Oh, no.
They brought in reggae, that offbeat rhythm, and soul, that melodic richness, all blended into this hip-hop foundation. Like a fusion no one had really heard before.
Yeah. And it made total sense considering their backgrounds, their influences.
It all came together. So they released their first album, Blunted on Reality, in 1994.
Right.
But if we're being honest, it didn't exactly take off.
It didn't, no.
And I think that's important to remember, right? Even for artists who go on to be huge, it's not always a straight line to success.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that early work, it takes time to find its audience, to really connect.
It's true. But then comes 1996 and everything changes. The score drops and it's like a cultural explosion.
Oh, yeah. The score. What an album.
This thing resonated on so many levels, and Lauryn Hill's contributions, man, they were central to its impact. Oh, for sure. Like Killing Me Softly with his song. It wasn't just a cover, right?
Yeah.
She transformed it. That haunting, soulful quality, it became her signature.
It really did. And then Ready or Not, which showed off her range, her versatility, those sharp rap verses flowing into these melodic, soulful hooks. It was mesmerizing.
Absolutely mesmerizing. And let's not forget Fugila with that reggae vibe, the perfect example of their fusion, that unique Fugees sound.
It was. So the album goes multi-platinum, wins 2 Grammys. The Fugees, and especially Lauryn, are solidified in the music scene.
Cementing their place in history. But, as often happens with groups like this, there's tension brewing.
Oh, yeah.
That creative and personal dynamic, especially between Lauryn and Wyclef, it seemed like a big factor in the eventual breakup.
It's almost like a classic tale, right? You have this amazing collaboration, but then the pressure, the differences.
It can implode.
It really can.
Yeah.
So the Fugees split, and Lauryn Hill embarks on her solo career, which leads us to what many consider a masterpiece, a true game changer, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, 1998. Okay, Miseducation. Now we're talking.
This album was groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking doesn't even cut it, honestly. It was a tapestry of sounds. Hip-hop, R&B, that neo-soul vibe, even reggae. And her lyrics, so personal, so vulnerable.
Yeah. She's exploring love, motherhood, self-discovery, heartbreak, all in a way that was so specific to her experience, but also universally relatable.
Exactly. Like, you felt her story, but you also saw yourself in it.
Totally. Let's talk about doo-wop, that thing. Catchy as Val, blends her rapping and singing perfectly, but it also carries this powerful message of self-respect, independence, especially for women.
Oh yeah, an anthem for sure. And then there's X Factor, that raw emotion, that ballad. And as many sources suggest, probably inspired by her relationship with Wyclef, she was so willing to be vulnerable, and that's what connected with people.
Deeply personal stuff. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have To Zion, this beautiful, joyful tribute to her son, featuring Carlos Santana on guitar. So unexpected, so intimate.
Like a peek into her heart. And then you have Everything Is Everything, with that social consciousness, that hope for change. The album was just so layered.
So layered, and it became an instant classic. 5 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. She becomes the first Black woman to win that award solo, a huge moment in music history.
Totally groundbreaking. She really smashed barriers, changed the game for women in music, especially hip-hop and R&B.
And then, after all this success, she does something that surprises everyone. She steps back, out of the spotlight.
Yeah. It really shows you the pressure of fame. From what we've gathered, she felt overwhelmed, was searching for something deeper, more spiritual.
Like a conflict between the demands of celebrity and her own personal artistic journey.
Exactly. And then, 2002, she resurfaces with MTV Unplugged number 2.0. And it's a complete departure from Miseducation. Raw acoustic stripped down.
Like an open diary set to music.
People's reactions were all over the place. Some loved the honesty, the vulnerability. Others, maybe expecting something more like Miseducation, were disappointed. But it was a bold artistic choice, that's for sure.
It was. But even within those mixed reactions, there were some really powerful tracks. I find it hard to say, Rebel and Mystery of Iniquity. And speaking of Mystery of Iniquity,
What about it?
Kanye West later sampled it in his hit All Falls Down.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it shows you the lasting impact of her songwriting, even in this more unconventional form.
Totally. Like,
Yeah.
her ideas keep rippling outward, influencing other artists. Okay, so beyond the music, her personal life plays a big part in this story, too. Her relationship with Rohan Marley, Bob Marley's son, and their 6 children were a major part of her life during this time.
And it reminds us that artists are whole people, right? With lives and families beyond the stage or the studio. And fame, well, it can take a toll on personal relationships, on your well-being.
It can be a heavy burden to carry, and from what we've seen, Lauryn was definitely navigating those complexities.
She was. Our sources also touch on her growing disillusionment with the music industry itself, conflicts with her label, feeling creatively stifled. It's a story we hear a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, those industry struggles can be incredibly draining, make you want to step back, reassess everything.
Exactly. And then in 2013, there's this news that really shook things up. She's sentenced to 3 months in prison for tax evasion, nearly $1 million.
Oh, wow. That must have been a tough time.
It was. And our sources say she pointed to the pressures of the industry, her personal struggles, as contributing factors. Now, it's important for us to just present this information factually without taking sides.
Right, just stating the facts as they are. It's a complex situation. Money, the music business, personal difficulties,
Hmm.
it can all add up.
It can. So, moving into more recent times, we see her doing some live performances, but no real return to like consistent mainstream music releases.
It seems like that connection to performing live, sharing her music directly with an audience, it's still there.
Mm.
But maybe that relationship with the bigger music industry, it's still a
Mhm.
bit unconventional.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. But in 2014, she does release some very powerful, politically charged songs, like Black Rage, which was a reworking of My Favorite Things, with new lyrics addressing social issues.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Like taking something familiar and turning it into a statement shows you that artistic voice is still very much engaged with the world.
It really does. Then, 2018, there's this amazing 20th anniversary tour for the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Huge crowds, tons of love. It really highlighted the lasting power of that one solo album.
Seriously, 2 decades later, people still flock to hear those songs live. Timeless.
And in 2021, there was a brief but super exciting reunion with the Fugees. They planned a world tour, but it unfortunately got cut short.
Even that little taste, it generated so much buzz, so much nostalgia. It reminded everyone of that unique chemistry they had as a group.
They really were special. So, looking at the big picture, Lauryn Hill's legacy is massive. Despite what some might consider a smaller discography, she's one of the most influential artists of all time. It's almost mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. Her impact on hip-hop, R&B, neo-soul, it's everywhere. You hear her influence in so many artists who came after her. That blend of genres, those fearless lyrics.
And our research even names some of those artists specifically. Beyoncé, J. Cole, Alicia Keys, Kendrick Lamar. Major figures in music who see her as a key inspiration. That says a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she really broke barriers for women in rap. Showed you could be a multifaceted artist, singer, rapper, producer, and still have this incredible depth and authenticity.
She really did. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that Lauryn Hill's legacy is alive and well. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill continues to inspire new generations of artists and listeners. It's a landmark album.
It all comes back to that incredible range of talent. Acting, singing, rapping, producing. And it all converged in that one groundbreaking solo album. We've seen her relationship with fame, those times she stepped away, and the impact she's had on music as a whole.
And I think it shows you that influence isn't always about quantity. It's about the power of that work, the way it resonates. Despite the ups and downs, the smaller number of releases, her significance is undeniable.
It really is. It makes you think about what truly creates a lasting legacy in the world of art.
It does.
And here's something to consider as you go forward. How does an artist with such a profound impact from a single solo album continue to shape music and culture even today? What does that say about authenticity? About a unique vision? Maybe it'll make you want to revisit the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, listen with fresh ears, or maybe you'll explore some of the artists she's inspired. It's a rabbit hole worth going down for sure.
It is. It really is.